Is it possible for a dog to be too happy, too playful, too excitable? You bet. Let's take a look at Gioia, a young Bernese Mountain Dog, and you'll get the idea. Gioia's owners contacted me because they were having trouble with their puppy. They're home working during the pandemic, and like a lot of people that are stuck home with their pets, they're starting to realize that being around each other all day long can prove to be challenging at times. Gioia would be crated or penned a lot, and when she was out and hanging out with her people, it was hard to enjoy her company because she was always climbing the walls. So one thing that was apparent to me when I met Gioia was she's very happy, very playful, very social pup. I told her owners this is the best possible problem to have, if you want to call it a problem, but we do need to teach her to access her brake pedal once in a while. So all I want from the pup is just give me some basic things, and at the same time, let's create some boundaries, create some delineations that you're not allowed to do X, Y, and Z. Now at the same time, I really like her kind of springy playfulness. Okay, it's like sunshine in a bottle, but we just want to tone it down a little bit. So I do play a lot with her in training. You're going to see that in the video. I want to keep the dog up and bouncy and playful. This is going to give us a lot of opportunity to access the dog's willingness to work for us. And at the same time, it's going to teach the dog that even though we're playing, there's a limit to things. So there's a lot of benefits to playing with your dogs when you train them, if that's the kind of thing your dog is into. And as you can see with Gioia, that's clearly what she's into. Another thing that I want to mention is they were training with someone else prior to bringing her to me. And it wasn't really going well, and they didn't like the methods that were being used. And quite frankly, I think they told me that they found it a little bit harsh. I'm very, very clear at being a disciplinarian with the dogs. I have no hesitation to correct a dog with a leash and a collar if the dog is not doing what it knows that it needs to be doing, if the dog is just bluffing me and choosing to not work. First and foremost, though, I'm looking for willingness and cooperation, and I'm trying to promote teamwork when I'm working with a dog. So as long as the dog's making an effort with me, all is good. And if the dog's making the effort and doing the wrong thing, that's okay. That's my job. I'll teach the dog what it needs to do. If the dog, on the other hand, is just choosing to say, no, today you don't get it, Nick. I'm unionized and today's not a work day for me. No, that doesn't fly. And you'll see with Gioia that even if I have to correct her, she's happy and she's in the moment and everything is good. So corrections don't have to be harsh. They don't have to be severe, and they don't have to come at the cost of the dog's happiness. Okay, we can find that nice balance point where we can guide our dogs, be our dog's friend, be our dog's cheerleader and playmate. At the same time, we can be the disciplinarian and correct our dogs when needed, and find that balance point where the dog is going to be a happy, upbeat, willing, and consistent worker. This is Gioia. Gioia in Italian means joy. She got the message. She's full of joy. Good, Gioia. Come on, pup. Good. Good girl. That's good. You're good. Yes, you're good. Girl, that's good. You're good. Yes, you're good. Gioia used to have a real problem pulling on leash. And with a big dog like this, Gioia, sit. We cannot afford to have a dog this size and this power pulling on leash. So I taught her to heel. I taught her to focus on me. She's very, very happy to do anything involving contact. Anything involving where we can work together as a team is just a treat for Gioia. Another thing that I worked on with her was her mouthing. She was just relentless with the mouthing. And so you'll see I play with her mouth a lot. It's just reinforcement. It's just reminding her that mouthing us is not okay. Gioia, heel. Good girl. Good pup. That's good. You're not going to meet a sweeter dog. She really is a sweetheart. She suits her name. Hey, Gioia. Yo. So now I'm going to run with her, which is a big deal because as soon as she starts to run, she gets very excited. And we'll see how she does. Gioia, heel. Come on, pup. Good girl. Good girl, yes. Yes. Good, Gioia. Good, Gioia. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. Now with a dog like Gioia, you got to watch out because she loves to play excitedly, but at the same time, if you push too much, then she could lose control. So it's kind of like if you're driving and you take a very sharp turn, if you accelerate a little too much into the turn, you could spin out. It's very easy for Gioia to spin out. So when I release her by saying, Gioia, okay, and then I'll give her a hug, a kiss, a scratch, a pet. I'll play with her, okay, and I'll show you what happens when you start to play too excitedly with a dog like this. Gioia, okay, good girl. Oh, good girl. Yes, good. Whoa, good girl. Heel. Good girl. So we've worked a lot on teaching her to flip that switch on and off. Gioia, sit. Good girl. I always talk about this with my clients. I talk about obedience working like a light switch. When it's done properly, we can access it when we want. We can flip the switch on for them to focus and then flip it off when it's time for them to just relax or to play or to do whatever it is that the dog enjoys doing. So with Gioia, I like to switch her in and out of adrenaline and play and then switch her back into focus. Gioia, heel. Good job, Gioia. Yes. So I'm going to play with her now as I release her. Gioia, sit. Good dog. Gioia, okay. Yo. Yo. Gioia, heel. Good girl. Good girl. Come on, pup. That is good. Gioia, sit. Good job. What a nice girl. What a good puppy. Oh, yeah. So one more time here. Gioia, okay. Yes. Whoa. 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 Gioia, sit. Good. Gioia, heel. What a good pup. You are a good girl. Sit. Good dog. Good. Gioia, okay. So one of the issues her owners had was that they found they were putting her in her crate as a means of controlling her, because with the pandemic and with people working from home, we're around our dogs more than ever. Thank you very much. We're around our dogs more than ever. And when a dog is this large, this powerful, and this intense, if they're not trained, they can be a handful. So they didn't want to be putting her in her crate. They realized this was not an ideal strategy to share a life with their dog. One of the things that I've worked on with Gioia was her place command, and I'll show you what that looks like. And this is a great exercise, because when our dogs can do a nice place, we can have them accompany us pretty much all the time. Can get myself untangled. Gioia, place. Good girl. So I'm using a smaller place than what I would use if this were my dog. I'm using a smaller one on purpose because it forces her to have to really think about being on here and to contain herself, to kind of fold herself up into a small bed, versus a large one where she can just flop down and go to sleep. So for training purposes, this is useful to me, but if she were my dog at home, I'd have a much larger bed for her so she can be comfy, of course. Good girl. Now initially, she couldn't stay on here for even a couple of seconds. She'd get on, she'd get off, she'd get on, she'd get off, she'd get on, she'd start to chew on me, she'd want to chase other dogs, you name it. So the fact that she can stay on for any length of time is already wonderful, and I've had her stay on for probably a little bit upwards of an hour while I walk around. And you'll see she understands the concept of place means to just stay within the boundary of the bed. There's times where if I'm walking in circles, she'll get up on the bed and move around to follow me. In this case, she's following me more just by turning her neck. Atta girl, Gioia. Good job. Good job. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Gioia, okay. Good girl. Good girl. Good. Gioia, okay. So now we're going to flip that switch again. Gioia, okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Nope. Come on. Come on. No, good girl. Good. So I'm playing rough with her now. And look at the restraint she has with her mouth. That's her, again, learning to pump the brakes. No. Good girl. Gioia, place. Good girl. Good job, Gioia. Good girl. Good girl. All right, we have baby Gioia, big Gioia. So that's what I was talking about earlier. See, she'll move her giant carcass all over that tiny bed. She understands her boundary. That is good. You are a good dog. You're a good dog. You're a good dog. Yeah. Good girl. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Gioia, okay. Yes. Now you're volunteering. Let's go. So this is really cool. I want to point something out here. I released her from her place. I told her, Gioia, okay. And I went to play with her. And what did she do? She spun right back around and went back to place. I didn't ask her to go to place. She just chose to go to her place. Now, why is she doing this? Well, in training, when we work on something, we tend to drill it over and over and over. That's one of the things you can do to help your dog learn to connect dots so that they can predict and put pieces of the puzzle together. So what Gioia is doing here is, even though I'm trying to engage her and access that kind of cuckoo zone that she goes into, she's got her brain fully flipped on. She's like, no, Nick, we're working on plays. Come on, Nick, what's wrong with you? Why are you playing? We need to work. Great, great. There's no such thing as too much focus, too much control with a dog like Gioia, because she's got this big engine for play. So when I see something like that, that's great. I would love to see with a dog like Gioia that the dog is overthinking things, because later on, if we need to just loosen up and back off on the training, that playfulness, that's always going to be there. That's an innate quality. The dog wanting to play and be silly and just get wild, that's always going to be there. So if the dog overthinks things a little bit while I've got her, well, that's fantastic, because that means that it's going to be even easier for the owners to access that side of the dog. So again, when I talk about balance, this is what we're looking for. I would much rather the dog overthink than underthink and just go on raw emotion and raw energy, because that's what she was doing before she came in for training. So score 1 for Gioia. She went right back to place even though she wasn't asked to. Let's take a look at that again. Gioia, okay. Yes. Now you're volunteering. Let's go.